Welcome back this week. Our scripture for this week is taken from Proverbs chapter 23, verse number 7. The scripture says, as a man thinks or thinketh in his heart, so he is. Well, let's look at the properties of this particular scripture. We have the mind, thinketh. We have the heart, the center of his being. And the scripture tells us, as a man thinketh in his heart, Look at this, look at it this way. The word think, change it to the word feed. As a man feeds, so he is. And the scripture is telling us here that as we think, what we feed on with our mind is what we become. What we feed on. So our mind is that tool by which we consume. And what we consume are the thoughts that come into our heart, the center of our being. So the nature of the thoughts that we are consuming will ultimately give birth to what we become. The nature of what we consume in thoughts, in our thinking, in our mind will ultimately become. You will ultimately begin to reflect it. You will ultimately begin to act it out. As a man thinketh, as a man feeds, what you're feeding on will affect you. Honestly, physically, what you feed on will affect your stature. It will affect you internally. It will affect you. And the scripture is telling us, as a man thinketh. As a man thinketh. So what you feed on? What are you feeding on? What are you feeding on? We are told in the book of Philippians chapter 4 verse 8, telling us what to feed on. When you feed on what is in Philippians chapter 4 verse 8, it will help you. It will change you. It will bring out of you something that is strong, something that is enduring, something that is positive, something that is honorable, something of integrity. Oh yeah, you will be morally upright. You'll be morally upright. You'll be loving when you meditate, when you feed. And every time you think about thinking, think about feeding. Right? Feeding. And what you feed on, when you feed your mind, it begins to develop. When you feed your mind with words, you develop. And when you develop, what happens? Our capacity to do something, a particular thing, also develops. When your mind is developing, your capacity is also what? Developing. When your mind is developing, your capacity is also what? Developing. That's the reason why, in Psalm 1, we are encouraged, to think, to desire. Delight thyself in the Lord. Delight thyself in the law of the Lord. When you delight, you desire, you thirst, you hunger, you pant, right? When you do that, you are developing. Your heart is like a country. Your heart and my heart is like a country. That's the reason why the scripture tells us in Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23 that guard your heart, guard your country, guard your heart. When you guard your heart, you are guarding your country. You're a country. You're a country. When you guard your heart, you are protecting the integrity, you are protecting the treasure of that country. Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence. Guard it seriously. Guard your heart like a country. Guard your heart carefully. Guard your heart with all diligence. And out of it comes up the issues of life. The issues of life. The issues of life. When you are guarding a country, you have the agent there. Agent there asking what is coming in. What kind of a thought is this? What kind of a thought? And the scripture tells us to take all thoughts captive. Hallelujah. To take it captive. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. From verse 3 to 7. Taking all thoughts captive. Well, thank you for joining us this week. We're going to continue on the same subject. God bless you.